Well, what's up, folks? It is Friday Eve, Thursday night for those who like to keep track of the days a week. And here we are at episode 187, 13 away from 200 episodes. And I couldn't be more happier and or more proud as far as success that we've had here on Broad Street South. And of course, adding the sports radio station, if you guys are listening in from overseas over on Sports Radio 102.9 FM, The Game, we do appreciate it, along with the folks over on AMP Radio as well. So as I always say, or at least currently now, three different ways to listen to us. You can watch us live and hear us twice on the radio. So thank you all for always tuning in each and every week. We do appreciate it. And of course, Ryan, my co-host, is in the background just waiting patiently for everything to get started here. But lots to get into as the Flyers. Yes, the few words that kind of might come out of my mouth when it comes to the Flyers, but the Flyers finally put the right pieces into place. And I'm not saying they're going to win the Stanley Cup, obviously, not next year, maybe not the year after, but finally they make the right moves. Jonesy Brier in the front office. That should be just terrific when it comes to the Flyers. Also, John Morant gets himself in the hot water once again. The NBA playoffs are going. Miami Heat plays tomorrow night. They stole one from the Celtics, and currently I believe it's all 25 up with the Lakers and the Denver Nuggets. And the NHL, I believe the Canes are up 1-0 at the moment. So lots, once again, like I said, to get into. Pirates so far hanging into first place, just barely, but they're hanging in there. And the Phillies, well, we're waiting to see exactly what's going to happen. But again, it's a marathon, folks. We got a lot of baseball to go. But as the Major League Baseball approaches, Major League Baseball deadline approaches, could the Chicago White Sox do like the Chicago Cubs and have a major fire sale? Because right now they've got about 4 different players on the market right now that it could be potentially letting go. So again, just so much to get into. And Greg Popovich, San Antonio Spurs being the number one winners last night in the NBA draft lottery. And Greg Popovich says that he wants to come back 3 decades with his team. But could San Antonio be looking younger with Victor coming from France? So again, tons to get into, but I do appreciate everyone tuning in here from overseas, here stateside, and around the globe. And who knows, maybe we're listening to in Mars. It could be a possibility. But either way, I thank you for tuning in tonight. It is episode 187. Yes, Doc is fired, and we'll get into that as well right on the other side. I do appreciate you all. Once again, I'm Angie Martinez, and welcome to Broad Street South. And waiting patiently there in the green room is the man, the myth, and not the legend, but it is Ryan Neff. Ryan, how are you this evening?
Angel, I'm Ryan Neff. It's great to be with everybody this evening. My, oh my, there is so much to talk about. Obviously, my Celtics lost game 1 yesterday, which I didn't expect them to win. Basically coming off that emotional game 7 series against Philly. But you got the Flyers doing the right things. You got the Sixers who took the first step in firing Doc Rivers. All kinds of Major League Baseball. There's just all kinds of stuff going on. I can't wait to get into it. Let's get it started, my friend.
Well, the big thing being, and I don't know, I guess for some people it's a surprise. I think for myself, it wasn't much of a surprise. You had mentioned it about Doc Rivers and the Sixers bringing things up the same way with the Flyers. But I guess we'll start off with the hot topic here being Doc Rivers being fired by Daryl Morey and the Sixers organization. And then right after that, Harden basically comes out and says, I don't want to be here anymore. So he opted out of his contract, was looking for a long-term extension. And Ryan, I don't know who in the world James Harden believes that he is anymore. No one, but absolutely no one. And I don't care how desperate your team is. No one is giving that man a long-term contract.
I mean, who's at his age, the state of his NBA career, what organizations witnessed on Sunday. I don't see it. Obviously they fired Doc Rivers. I mean, basically what the whole Doc Rivers thing is, I was thinking about it long and hard Sunday. I thought what sort of put the nail in the coffin for him is when they asked him, about Embiid and Harden, and he said, they came to play today. And, you're not going to BS the Philadelphia fan base. So I'm not saying Doc wanted out, but and then James Harden, when asked about the relationship, basically said, it's okay. So
Right.
no one's going to give him a long term deal. Could Houston do it? So he finishes up his career with Houston. I don't know. He said he wants to go to a competitive team, but I don't think any competitive team out there right now is going to want to sign him to a long term deal. Not after what they just saw in the series against Boston. So I don't know where they're going to go from here. Um, just by firing Doc, it doesn't solve the issues. Whoever they bring in is going to have the same issues. And then the other thing that made me laugh, to be quite honest with you, Daryl Morey actually came out and said, "We have a team that's built to win now." I'm sorry. What the hell kind of team were you looking at all year long and in the playoffs?
Right.
And then you have, I talked about it on the cheap seats. Then you have an MVP
Hmm.
who the last 3 years, all the hell he was worried about was winning an MVP. That's all he was concerned about. MVPs raise the level of your team. MVPs get in the faces of players who aren't performing. MVPs put the teams on their back and elevate. And look at Jimmy Butler. Look at Jimmy Butler. You know? So you had to have PJ Tucker get in your face to try and get you motivated.
Right.
And, a lot of people are saying get rid of Embiid, blowing up. They're not getting rid of Embiid. They're going to try and build around him. And they're going to have to bring in a coach that is no holes barred. No BS, none of it. And I don't know who they're going to get. I would say Frank Vogel is probably the most high on my list, just from the standpoint of he doesn't take any flack off anybody.
Right.
He holds the players accountable, and he's sort of a tough, gritty-minded coach. That's who's high on my list. What are you going to do? I mean, Morey's got to have some sort of accountability as the GM, upper management. They did nothing to bolster the bench. They signed PJ Tucker to a 2-year, $30 million deal for what? Yeah, he's a decent defensive player, but he's not going to score you points. And I don't know who they're going to bring in. You've got to bring in tough. This team isn't tough enough for Philadelphia. They're just not. Blue collar town, that kind of effort on Philadelphia or in Boston,
Right.
it's not going to float with Philadelphia fans. It's just not. I said the other day on the cheap seats, I said, imagine if the Eagles would have been down like 28-10 to the Chiefs in the Super Bowl and they just would have quit.
Hmm.
Everybody's heads would have been on a silver platter. There's too much blame to go around. I'm not going to put it on Doc. You can only do so much as a coach. If you can't get up for a game 7, if you need any other sort of motivation, it shouldn't have been like that. They flat out quit. And you know what happens to athletes that quit in the city of Philadelphia? They get run out of town. So, and I saying this to Philadelphia fans, I don't want to hear about Ben Simmons anymore. Yes, he passed up a layup because he was afraid. But what I saw Sunday was worse than what Ben Simmons did.
No, that's absolutely true. And I'll get back to your comments here because Sean Kilrain tunes in. And Sean, uh, as always, thanks you for tuning in, our sports contributor there. He says, "What's up, fellas? All I know is Harden and Embiid equal loser mentality. JoJo can't lead a team. And with what the hell is Embiid dribbling the ball up the court? His one job or his job is to man the paint. You agree?" And yeah, now David, I see your comment, David, a long time fan of the show here, and I'll hide away that comment here. And David follows up with that one. David, always great to at least if I don't see you, at least I can see you here on Broad Street South. But he says, "What was Why was Rivers fired and Tortorella not? Not necessarily complaining here, just a weird irony. And it's true. And David, hang on for that one because that is absolutely true as far as the irony in between that one. But as far as when Embiid, to get back to Sean's question here, I don't understand how in the world you every single time you complained about, man, I came up short. I was supposed to be the MVP. MVP this, all this MVP talk, no MVP action. I understand game one, they didn't bring him in. So James Harden scores what, 50 game one? So were you upset because they brought Embiid back? And then you decided to take the backseat approach because everyone saw it. I don't care who you are. Harden had plenty of opportunities in the paint, decided just to turn his back against the entire team. Maxey obviously trying to put the team on his back, but he could only carry him so much. Tried to do the best he possibly could. I've never seen a more exodus team as I saw in game six and especially in game seven. I mean, basically, just they threw it away. I don't know what you were looking for. The NBA draft lottery, you guys weren't winning it. Everybody knew that. San Antonio ended up, coming out like bandits on that one. And pretty soon, Victor coming over from Paris is going to do great wonders for San Antonio. But it was an abomination. It was horrible to see what the Sixers did. And to put the full blame on Doc Rivers, can I point my finger and say exactly it was completely Doc Rivers' fault? No, it wasn't all Doc Rivers, but someone's got to take the fall. Daryl swears up and down that it was. And what kills me more than anything else, as I told my producer over at Studio B, and Brian, you and I even talked about it. 1 minute, there's a tweet out saying Doc fired. The next minute, it was like, thank you, Doc, for all your time here. I'm like, what the hell? What's going on here? 1 minute, you guys are freaking running him out of town, and then you're thanking him for running him out of town. Now, will Doc Rivers end up being with another team? Probably not. Will he be a broadcaster? Yeah, I think he would be a great broadcaster. And then again, who knows? If someone's desperate enough, they're going to need somebody. And if he decides he wants to keep coaching, then he'll keep doing it. But I just don't understand what in the world, what the Sixers were thinking. That was probably the worst demonstration of any NBA non-talent for all that cap, all that money is being paid to all these guys, including obviously Embiid's extension contract. But for all that money, now Harden's saying that he doesn't want to extend his. He opted out for the 34.5 million, whatever. He wants a long-term contract. Good luck with that, buddy, because at this point, everybody saw you on full display, just like you said, Ryan, and no one's going to want that. Nobody. I don't care how desperate you are. Unless you're trying to rebuild and you want something like that. He wanted to go back to Houston. Even Houston is rebuilding. So I don't know where he's going to go. I don't maybe go overseas somewhere else. But I just don't see it. It was probably the worst display I've seen in the Sixers in a very, very long time. I am completely disappointed with what this team and this outcome ended up happening. I know the Philly fans were frustrated on local radio. I know they voiced their opinions till this day. They're still voicing their opinions. I don't know what Daryl Morley's talking about too, because he's saying this team is built to win right now, not with that bench. Because the last time I checked, that bench didn't come off hot either during the playoffs. So I don't know what he's looking at. Maybe he's looking at things with a glass half full. I have no idea. I just don't see it. And to get a Davis comment when he was talking about as far as, obviously Doc Rivers being fired, but not Tortorella. Well, Tortorella said I thought it was a 2-year deal. Apparently it's a 5-year deal. Now, the only reason why he wasn't fired, and just in my own opinion, is because the Flyers were thinking about doing his rebuild, but we were all completely shocked with being Jonesy and Brier. I didn't see it. Ryan, obviously, you didn't see it as well. A lot of us didn't. Neither did last week with Jason Martinez when he was on with us. He didn't see it either. So this was a complete surprise. So maybe that's why they talked to Tortorella and told, listen, just hang in there. We're getting you some help. We're going to try and do the best that we possibly can. You guys have known for the last 2 or 3 years, I've been extremely hard on the Flyers. It's the first time that I will say that they finally have warmed my heart back up and doing something to push this team in the right direction. It's taking a long time for the Flyers to understand the Philly fan base, and God bless all season ticket holders, because it would have been me. I was out 10 years ago the way this team was going. Because again, the only thing they cared about was Gritty. So how about we fire Gritty instead of worrying about firing Tortorella? Because Gritty should be freaking fired. That's all the Flyers cared about. So hopefully they'll turn this stuff around. Sean, I know he says he's got another question. I want to bring it up before I bring it up, shoot over to Ryan again. But so Sean says, I got a question for you guys. Would you trade Embiid if the price was right just to blow up the process? I'm going no.
Yeah, I mean, you see all kinds of scenarios from the pundits and the analysts and whatnot. they're not going to get rid of Embiid. I mean,
No.
no. I mean, they'll probably wind up getting rid of Harden. If well, yeah, Sean. I mean, I'd be done with Harden too. He doesn't want to be there. Um, the thing that makes the situation even worse about Sunday is all the comments that came out afterward from Embiid, from Harden, from Morey. It just shows you how out of tune they were, to
Right.
be quite honest with you. And and I know you've got to take the comments in the entire context of what Embiid said, but when he said that this is the way I took this, and this is the only scenario I could sort of see. When Embiid came out and said, James and I can't do it alone. Well, yeah, you sort of have to because you're the two main guys on the team. You're the ones, and I even said this to Angel like 3 months ago, and I even said it to Missinelli. The starting five will have to carry the team as far as they can go
Right.
because the bench scares nobody. That's why Doc didn't go to the bench in Game 7 because he didn't trust him. But when Embiid was saying that, when he and Harden can't do it all, he's basically, this is the way that I read it. The organization needs to surround me with X, Y, and Z, better players off the bench. Or if you don't, I'm out of here. They're not going to get rid of him this year. They're probably going to try and do everything they can to get some pieces around him. I said this last year. I thought if they didn't do it last year, he'd be gone this year. So I'm saying it again. If they don't get the pieces around him this year, and he has to go through another year like this, which he'll probably do, at the end of next year, he's going to be gone. I don't see Embiid being with the Sixers past this year, unless maybe they can sort of swing a deal for maybe Dame Lillard or Bradley Beal, or I'm hearing Devin Booker's name being um, thrown out there. So and it actually came out from Daryl Morey himself that said Embiid was not happy that Doc Rivers got fired. So now you got a pissed off MVP who already with that performance on Sunday, now
Right.
he's pissed off at the fact he got rid of the coach. There's going to have to be a lot of spin doctoring going on this off season, and it's going to be one of the more interesting off seasons for the Sixers in a long, long time. Because any moves that they're going to make from here on forward is going to be so scrutinized and so analyzed that they better not miss on this. Because if they miss, this organization is going to be in trouble along down the line because I just don't think Embiid will stick for another season after this upcoming season.
I don't think so either. And Ronald Coleman, thanks you for tuning in. He said, as he corrected, he said Coach and Harden instead of Coach and Embiid. But I like the other one when he corrected. He said, "Oops, Harden and Cush only." I'll take the Cush only. And that's actually, and I like that comment. So that was pretty good. And he's talking about the coach there. But no, this, and then you also heard too. Supposedly JJ Redick is supposed to be in the mix as well. They talked about him possibly coming in as a coach, and it may not. And I'll use the term loosely, it may not be a bad deal. Obviously, JJ was here, so he knows exactly what's going on with the Sixers. And again, who knows? Who absolutely knows what's going to happen? But the problem is, Brian, that you have Embiid for the hook that they have right now on that contract. You are talking about having to dump what over 100 some odd $1 million at this point. So you got to think about who's going to be desperate enough to take that. And if you do, either you got to pay half that salary that you're going to be on the hook for at least another 4 or 5 years, if that's the case. But I also get tired too of Embiid with the constant crying and everything else because it didn't, the MVP out of him in this series, it didn't happen. And it's aggravating. It's aggravating as an NBA fan. It's aggravating as a Sixers fan, more importantly, of just seeing what didn't happen. And Doc Rivers too. I mean, there should have been times where Doc should have been so fired up that he should have been getting on all those guys, but he didn't. There was just times where he wasn't. So I don't get it. It's frustrating when it comes to the Sixers. And next year there's going to be a lot of NBA talk on this channel here because we're going to follow a lot more closely what's happening with these teams. Obviously, the Celtics and Miami. Again, Miami pull off the win, and then tomorrow night to play game two. But if you look at Jimmy Buckets, right, he was here. And Sean, I'm going to get your comment here momentarily. But you look at Jimmy Buckets, and he was here. He's on that mission to win that NBA final. And I believe Miami is going to take it from the Celtics. Is it going to go 7 games? Probably so. At least I think. It could go down to 6 games. As I talked about over on the No Filter Network, maybe. But I think it's going to go 7 because it's going to be challenging for both teams. The Sixers have to get it right. They just have to. I think the fan base is getting tired of seeing, good money that was spent throughout the playoffs. The fan base have been loyal. Lord knows we've seen the days when Power 99 was trying to give away free tickets and people were turning the free tickets back and like, get out of here with that garbage. So we're hoping that doesn't come around the way that we hope things have gone in the past. Now, it also adds to the argument if you want to get away from the Wells and have your own arena, and they keep pushing this thing where they want to be downtown, then you better convince the fan base that they want to spend that money in that new arena to bring this team to a championship level. So it's going to be really interesting to see who they're going to pick up as an NBA coach coming up because I don't know much of many that are going to be available. But again, we'll see. Sean follows up with the post-game comments. He threw his teammates under the bus and beat. We had no bench like Boston and Milwaukee. True. Can't
Well,
argue that one.
that's
Absolutely true.
that's what I've been hearing on social media and on radio. Um, I don't. Here's the thing. I don't necessarily say he threw his teammates under the bus. I just think that again, and it's one of the things that we talked about with Missinelli is I brought up the fact that they have no bench. The
Right.
bench does not scare anybody, and that was a huge dilemma for Doc. And one of the big things I've been hearing is that Doc should have pulled Harden because he should have been seeing that he was struggling. So he should have benched him, let him catch a breath, refocus. But the reason why this is what Doc was thinking. These 5 guys got us here. They're going to have to take as far as we can go. I don't trust anybody off the bench to bring them in. Does Georges Niang, does he scare anybody? Does Shake Milton scare anybody? Does
No.
anybody off the Philadelphia bench scare anybody? No. That's why he kept Harden in. Would I have pulled Harden? Probably. But, and I was going to go back to the Embiid thing, Angel. There is only maybe one possible scenario this offseason where I can see Embiid bolting. There's a guy in Miami that he used to play with that however far the Heat go, don't be too surprised if Jimmy Butler in the offseason starts chattering in his ear saying, "Hey man, this is a little bit better team than we had down here.
Right.
Why don't you come on down here? That Miami might be able to put some sort of package to get Embiid to come down there." That would not shock me one bit because the two of those guys are close. They get along, and we'll have to wait and see what happens. But yeah, we'll have to see.
No, we'll see. And Ronald Coleman says we need another leader like number 22, and then follows up with game 6 defaults. Bench, we had them with what we had. And Ronnie, it's just, to me, it's incredible again with this team. Just, just they evaporate themselves. It's frustrating. You try not to let too many emotions out there because it's frustrating. What we saw throughout the regular season, it looked, especially in round one. I mean, granted, of course, it's the Brooklyn Nets. They're all falling apart, the whole 9 yards, but at least it looked a lot better. Against the Celtics, are the Celtics beatable? Of course they are. Miami's proven it, at least right now, with the first game in the series, but they're proving it again. They're beatable. It's just that I don't understand where this team lies right now. And Daryl's got to, I hope he backs those words up because right now with what this team is assembled, they don't. And it's a great point, Ryan, because it could be Joel Embiid. I mean, there was love between the both of them, obviously between Jimmy Buckets and Embiid, and he could do probably better things in Miami as long as he stops crying. As far as with the whole Ben Simmons saga, I don't care. It again, that's a guy who's fallen apart, and God bless him for whatever he's going to do in his career. I don't think it was going to be much, but it didn't matter whether he was here, whether he wasn't here, it wasn't. The only thing that's surprising to me is Al Horford, right? Not much talked about when he was here in Philly, but yet somehow he was able to do and take away from the Sixers, including the entire bench. And Al doesn't say much, but you could just see in his face, like, yep, you know what? I got your number. You got Smart, and then you got Tatum. So it seems like just with those three guys, you'll be able to win. Again, we'll see. It's now, round three of the series. You're talking about East Conference finals to get it to NBA finals. So I don't know. It's very, very frustrating when it comes to Sixers. I'm pretty sure we can go all night when it comes to these clowns, but and it's exactly what they are. It was a clown show. It's a shame because a lot of people, I feel bad for the fans that went out there, spent all that money just to be, I mean, completely freaking disappointed. But you know, it is what it is. I guess you could have spent the money on Taylor Swift when she came to the link. Maybe you would have had more time.
I was going to say the other night I said on my show that, I said Taylor Swift put more effort into her concert and showed more heart Sunday night than the Sixers did in Boston.
It's a shame, man. It really just is. It's a crying shame. But speaking with the NBA, or sticking with the NBA for the moment, other than obviously the Spurs. So John Morant once again comes up in the news, and not for the right reasons, because now, and Ryan, you really have to think about this one, right? And let me adjust my little things here because they're trying to pop out from the side of my head here. But what makes me laugh, not as much, but you should know, if your boys know that you already got into trouble the first time around for a video, and I'm not saying this is a brand new video or this was a video that one of his boys had, and we're like, listen, bro, I'm just gonna get you a hot water again. We don't know the entire story. Obviously, John knows the story, but you know, the commissioner came down on him. He told him that, you can't do this again. And truthfully, Adam looked like a joke because John came out, said the right things. Said, he's learning, he's growing, he's young. We all get it. We understand it. But now the second video comes out and you're toting a gun. Now, do I think it's of a thug mentality? No, because he was in the driver's seat. Obviously, his boy, I believe, was the one that was driving. And I believe John Morant was the passenger. I think, if the way it looks on the video, because it's reversed. But either way, it's not like he was going around shooting, anything. He popped it out, which you shouldn't anyways, because you are a role model. But you've already had a stern talking to by the NBA. Now you're completely suspended from any team activities, and it makes you wonder, as it was spoken over on East Coast West Coast Sports Show, if it's going to be one of those things that the NBA is going to say, listen, buddy, let me explain to you how this works. I'm not talking about 10, 15, 20 games. You might be suspended for the entire season. And not only that, but now you look at his team, and Nashville may turn around and say, "Hey, listen, you're becoming quite the headache for us." And I think, the Memphis Grizzlies are looking at things in a different light, and we're probably going to have to let you go. And unlike any other sport, the NBA, if it's something like contact or conduct detrimental to you as the person, they basically severance that pay, like everything is done. Your career is it. So I like to get your perspective, Ryan, to say, is he completely done? Or is it one of these things that it's going to be so hard hitting they're going to make Ja the example. And then if anyone else gets caught, it's basically going to be just doomsday and you're out the NBA.
I mean, it's a tough call. You just got yourself in trouble 2 months ago. And I thought where Ja Morant got himself in trouble is when he sat down and did that interview with Stephen A. Smith, and after 10 days, he said he had everything figured out.
Right.
And I don't know if he thinks that we as fans and consumers, if he thinks we're that naive. I don't know. I don't know what his thought process is. Do I think he's completely done? No. Do I think that the kid needs help in certain aspects of his life? Yes. I'm not here to judge because we as people and enjoying doing what we're doing here, Angel, we've
Mhm.
all been through our share of stuff. So I'm not going to sit here and judge. When you have a lot of money and you're young and you're popular and you got all the talent in the world, what do most athletes think? That they're above it all.
Right.
That there are different rules that apply to them because they think they can buy their way out of whatever situation it is. Do I think there was any, like you said, you know, malice in what he was doing? No. But I'll say this: in the social media age, where Big Brother is watching 24/7,
Right.
you have to watch what you say and do. I'm not saying you have to be politically correct, but he gets an F for common sense because you didn't learn a couple of months ago. You said you did after 10 days,
Hmm.
and then you come out and you do the same thing. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. And now he'll have to deal with the repercussions. I mean, Nike's already removed his sneakers from their ad. So you're already seeing some of the repercussions.
Yeah.
I don't know what the league is going to do. I have I have no clue. Every situation is obviously different. I can sort of go back to, hey, look what happened with Ray Rice. The Ray Rice situation for the
Hmm.
Ravens. The man never played football again.
Yeah.
And am I saying that's going to happen this time? No. But he's going to have to go through some sort of, I don't know. I'm not going to say anger management, but I don't common sense course. I don't know. He might have to talk to some of the veterans, who have been in maybe similar situations. I don't know, but this is this is obviously strike number two. Don't wind up like I know I'm going to forget his name. I always do. He used to play for the Cleveland Browns, a receiver. Josh, what was his name? Angel, I can't remember now. I have short-term memory, but he got busted for smoking or whatever it was. He got busted. Then he was reinstated. Then he got busted again.
Oh crap! I know you're talking about, but I
Yeah,
can't. The name. Yeah, I know you're talking about.
and they kept letting him come back, and then finally they were like, "That's you're done."
Right.
Um, he's young enough. I think he can turn it around. He just
Josh Gordon.
Josh Gordon, that's what it was. I knew it was Josh something. I just short term memory. I'm 55 years old almost. Give me a break. Um, he just needs to sort of surround him. What he needs going forward, Angel, is he needs to surround himself with the right people and positive people, and he sort of needs to get away with some of the element that he's hanging out with. And if he doesn't, he's going to find himself in trouble again, and that's not what you want to see because hey, you start hanging out with the wrong element, and everyone's got their phones, and you don't know who's. You could walk into a Wawa and someone's recording you walking. You don't even know it.
Right.
So you just have to watch. Is he done? No. Do I think the league's going to come down with some sort of like big time? Did they even did they suspend him? They
No, not yet.
suspended
No,
the
no.
first
The only
time
thing
they
right now.
suspended him for like 10 games or something like that, from what I
No,
remember. Oh,
not
oh,
yet.
it is?
Right. As of right now, the only thing he's not able to do any team activities. Not that they are, because obviously they're not in the playoffs. So it's not he can't even if they had workouts or anything else. Basically, he can't come to the facility at all. He can't hang out with the rest of the guys if they're at the facilities, not if they're away from the facilities. But anything related to team activities, he's not be able to do. But Ronnie says here that if he doesn't change his mindset and his friends, it's like a ticking time bomb, which is absolutely correct. And then he follows it up with three strikes and you're out. And he's already on two, Ronnie.
Yeah.
He's already on two. So it's going to be bad if he ends up getting on three there. But no, he's just, and it could be something just as much as common sense. But the problem is, a lot of these guys, they come in, they're young. We saw with Allen Iverson. Allen Iverson didn't hang out with the best posse ever, took a lot of his money, and in the end, when he didn't have his money, what did he say? AI, sorry, bro, but you're yesterday. We're looking for something from today. And so the same way with John Morant, you got to watch the guys that you're with because, yet in today's day and age with social media, it is so simple to pass stuff around. Back when we were growing up, the only way you knew about it was the newspapers the next day, if it came out that fast, and or over the telephone. But other than that, it took weeks before anything was even exposed. Now you buy today's paper, which I talked about with my producer here a couple of days ago. You buy today's paper or tomorrow's paper, you're getting 2 days news, later on because everything is instant now on social media. So you have to be careful what you do. And if I'm John Morant right now, wherever I am, whether he's in an apartment, in Memphis, whether he's back home, wherever he is, his best bet right now is to keep to himself, figure out what he's going to do. He already knows he's going to have to go to some sort of counseling. That's a given. You're just going to have to. But surround yourself with much better people because some people that you think are your boys or they're looking to look out the best for you, they're not because you have what they want that they couldn't get. So be smart about it. You're 24 years old and too young to throw away your career. And you're absolutely right. I'm not going to judge him either because in the end, he's going to end up judging himself, no matter which way you look at it. So hopefully he'll make a much better choice in the future. But is he going to get hit hard by the? I just think the commissioner is going to make a big example out of him because there's no way you're just going to let that one slide.
No, and he should heed LeBron's advice when the Lakers were playing the Warriors, and I think it was after game 3 of the Warriors Lakers series. I think he said if he had any advice for any of the young players that were in the playoffs, stay off of social media.
Yep.
While you're going through the grind of the playoffs. You should stay off of social media, period, if it has something to do with what was posted the other day and in March. That's just stupidity. And again, I'm not here to judge. It's a common sense thing. We've all done stupid things all over our lives. But again, if the last event would have happened like 5 years ago, different story. Okay, I messed up. It hasn't happened in a while. But again, in the social media age today where everybody's watching, everybody, doesn't matter, as soon as you step out of your house, there could be somebody across the street with a phone and just like recording you.
Yeah.
So you just have to watch from here on out. And if he doesn't, he's going to get suspended for the beginning of the season next year. I have no doubt. And if Adam Silver doesn't do it, what kind of precedence is he setting then? So he has to do something.
No, he will. He's not going to slide us again. You don't make Adam Silver look dumb. Not twice in a row in less than 2 months. It just doesn't happen. Ronald Coleman says, well, yes, we make mistakes. True. Don't get set up, which is absolutely true. It's the same way. I say it every single day. When you wake up in the morning, life is about choices. You wake up in the morning, you make the good choice, you make the bad choice. No one gets up in the morning, at least I hope not, gets up and says, how can I murder my own career? You hope that you don't. But again, in today's, you can have someone, you have broadcasters, players, you name it. Everyone has had someone that's reached out to them on social media, either send them a picture or done something, and the person takes the bait. And then once they take the bait, all bets are off because the person's like, I got you. Screenshot everything, send it out to social media. Now you got to explain yourself. Even if you're not with the team, it doesn't matter because when you are under contract, it's no different in the military. You are an ambassador of your team when you are on and off the court, on or off the field. It doesn't matter. So again, it's going to come down to Ja, what he wants to do, how he wants to figure out the rest of his career. Start making better choices because it's got to work that way. Well, speaking of better choices, now you take San Antonio Spurs, big winners of the NBA draft lottery. And then Greg Popovich, which is surprising to me, 3 decades with San Antonio, 74 years old. You got to start thinking. He says he wants to come back next year. In his mind, he's coming back to San Antonio next year, obviously because you have Victor coming from France, unless San Antonio does something really silly and give that away. which is one of the better prospects that we've seen come out of the eastern side of the world in a long time. But Greg Popovich says, I'm coming back. At 74 years old, and San Antonio is looking to rebuild this team, this organization. You're going to need some key veterans in order to build around Victor. Are you sold, Ryan, that San Antonio is going to bring Greg Popovich back, or they're looking to say, you know what, you got Nick Nurse out there available, Elton Brand, we can probably steal him away from the Sixers. There's all these different elements, but are we sold that Greg Popovich will be the San Antonio Spurs head coach again this upcoming season?
I mean, until the San Antonio Spurs say he's not going to be, uh, I wouldn't doubt it if he's back. So they're going to have a good lineup. I know they struggled this year. I don't know how in the hell they got the number one pick again. It's just always they got Tim Duncan when they weren't supposed to. Yeah, Ronnie, Mr. Coleman. Yeah, it's the same old thing. And that year that they got Duncan, Boston had the best chance of getting the number one pick.
Right.
And they would have taken Duncan, and it would have changed the whole complexity of that organization. So, yeah, now they get the number one pick, and they're bringing in the big fella from France.
Mm-hmm.
And, not saying he's going to dominate. It's a little bit different over in Europe than it is here. It might take him a couple of years to adjust, but they're not going to have a bad lineup this year. They're going to be vastly improved, and I think Pop's going to be back until Spurs management. I mean, they haven't said anything yet. I mean, their season's been over for a while now, and Pop is still the coach. So he's got a lot of clout. He's got 5 NBA titles, I believe, as a head coach. And until I see something on the news that says he's not the coach anymore, I'm going to say he comes back as a coach. Why not?
Well, again, we'll see. We'll see. We'll see what ends up happening. It'll be out there. Ronnie says respect as far as when it comes to and again, Greg Popovich, great coach. Don't get me wrong, great coach. It's just everybody has their calling card, and it just might be one of those things where again, San Antonio, you're right. Where until they say otherwise, who the heck knows right now? For those who are tuning in, we thank you for watching right here and also listening on Sports Radio 102.9 FM. The Game, also on AMP Radio, over on Amazon. And looking at a quick score update is the Lakers right now up front from Denver, 53-38 here in game 2 of the Western Conference Finals. And I'm pretty sure everybody's going to want to love a Lakers-Celtics, storyline. But I wouldn't be surprised if they already got the commercials and everything else going at this point. But, whatever. It is what it is. I would personally, as I said to Joe, my thing would be Denver, Miami, I think would be a better series than Celtics, Lakers, because it's just going to be the same old, same old. And let's be truthful. Come on. We're not school kids anymore. If things are set up the way they want it, and you're talking about the Lakers, Celtics, come on. You already know they're going to give it to the Lakers, but whatever. I'd rather see Denver, Miami. Well, what say you, Ryan?
Well, what a year it would be for me if the Chiefs and the Celtics both win championships, within 4 or 5 months of one another. So,
why do I even bother?
Hey, look, the Celtics lost the first game against the Sixers in that series. So, do I think the Heat and the Celtics are going 7? Absolutely. I'm still taking the Celtics in 7, but I sort of went Celtics Nuggets. I predicted that the Lakers would win game 2 just because they have to win game 2. They don't have a choice. So do I think the Lakers Nuggets series is going to go 7? Absolutely. But I think the Nuggets are going to win that series in 7. They don't have an answer for Jokic. They just don't. Jamal Murray's no slouch. And when Gordon and who's the other? I'm having short-term memory again. It's Gordon and Porter. When they step up to the plate for the Nuggets too, they're tough to beat. So, but I expected the Lakers to come out gangbusters, and I expect the Celtics to win game 2. I just think both these series are going to go 7. Believe me, the NBA. most of the fans across the nation, if it's Lakers Celtics, they'll puke. You'll hear a collective
Yeah,
like puke fest. If it's the Lakers and the Celtics, I'm sure the NBA wants that.
of
It'll be a
course.
Yeah, it'll be a repeat of the bubble 3 years ago. But I wouldn't mind. I mean, the Nuggets have never won an NBA title, and you know what a great thing it would be for that city. You had the Avalanche win a title. Um, you've had have the Rock no the Rockies haven't they haven't won a World Series, have they? I don't think so.
No.
No. So no title for the Rockies. The Avalanche have won a title. Obviously the Broncos. What a great thing for the city if the Nuggets would win it. And they have the team to do it. Now they're up against a formidable foe with LeBron and Anthony Davis, but I just think the Nuggets will take it in seven. So I think it's going to be the Celtics against the Nuggets. And I'm sure a lot of people out there hear me say this. Well, they want the Heat and the Nuggets. They don't want the Lakers or the Celtics in. So what can I say? What can I say? I'm a fan too. I'm
I
a
know.
fan too.
I know. Well, Ronnie, while you're still here, and Sean, I'm going to get back to your comment. Ronnie, while you're still here, you're calling Denver and Celtics in the NBA Finals. So I'd like to know who you think would be the actual NBA champs in between Denver and the Celtics. In the meantime, while you're answering that, Sean, getting back to your question here, he says Sixers are talking about Nick Nurse as the next head coach. In our thoughts, it's Nick Nurse wouldn't be bad. Obviously, he won one in Toronto again, thanks to the Sixers, but he won one in Toronto. Nick Nurse wouldn't be bad. Is he ready to come back? After what is it, a year off? Is he ready to come back? I wouldn't mind Nick Nurse. I think he can get his team moving and shaking. Is he the gutsy coach that you were talking about, Ryan? I don't think so. I don't think he's very hard nosed. I just don't see it. But great mindset. So I wouldn't mind Nick Nurse.
Well, and don't forget, Monty Williams was on Brett Brown's staff, so he knows the city. He knows the culture. He had a good run with Phoenix. He took them to a finals. They didn't win. I thought he got a little bit of a raw deal getting fired after the playoffs this year.
Right.
But they might go that route too. So, but I, Vogel to me has the characteristics and the demeanor, and I'm going to say like the gumption, the guts, like deep inside for a city like Philadelphia. I don't know what to. Yeah, Mark Jackson could be a good pick too, but Mark's really not. Look, he got the Golden State Warriors job, and they let him go before the run took place. So I'm not so sure. Mark Jackson, obviously St. John's guy. Um, a tough point guard in his day. I just don't know if he would be the right fit for Philadelphia. Like I said, and I'll keep beating a dead horse, but Frank Vogel to me, he's probably not going to get it. But for a city like Philadelphia, just like Tortorella, everybody, we had the comment earlier about why isn't Tortorella fired? It's been a year. It's
Mhm.
been 1 year. He wasn't gonna. I don't care who they would have had as a coach this year. They weren't winning. They weren't going to the playoffs. It just wasn't going to happen. And maybe, the Flyers organization with Brier and Jonesy, they'll turn the corner in the second year. So we'll see. I saw the JJ Redick thing too. JJ Redick's not a coach. I don't think he's coached a day in his life in the NBA,
Right.
obviously. So why bring in somebody that inexperienced for the sixth largest market in the country? It's just not a good fit. So again, it'll be interesting to see. We talked about it earlier. They have to get this offseason right, because if they don't, there's going to be hell to pay, and they're going to crash and burn hard if they don't get this right.
All right. Well, as we get ready here to wrap up, because we're coming up quickly on the hour as this show goes by, whizzing right by. I want to get your take. Obviously, Golden State exited out. Steve Kerr tried to do the best he possibly could. Steph Curry carried that team literally throughout the season and throughout the playoffs. Is the dynasty reign over for the Golden State Warriors?
They're definitely getting older, aren't they? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
they're starting to age, and I don't put any stock into what Draymond Green has to say because I'll be politically correct for tonight. Um, he actually came out and made the comment that had all the issues between him and Jordan Poole not arose, that they would have won another NBA title. This is the way he thinks, and that's just completely insane. It's ludicrous. I'm not going to say that the dynasty's over. Do I think they have maybe one more run left in them? Maybe. With all that being said, they need to get a little bit younger. They need to have fresher legs. Um, they need big time rotation within the lineup. Steph's obviously older. He's like 36 now or 35 or whatnot. Draymond's getting up there. Clay Thompson showed flashes this year, but I mean, the man's been devastated by injuries like the last 3, 4 years. So we'll see what happens with their offseason, too. People keep saying that obviously they keep Steph, but I see a lot of things, NBA pundits are saying Clay Thompson is either going to have to go or Draymond Green is going to have to go. But then Steve Kerr came out and said if there's no Draymond Green, we don't vie for an NBA championship next year. So maybe there's a hint that Clay Thompson might be, shipped off. We'll just see, where they go as well. But, they're getting old, man. Father Time, he's undefeated.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
sure is.
There's Golden State fans, you might be content for just a little while. You know what I mean? They've had a hell of a run the last 7, 8 years. Just enjoy it. Take it from a Blackhawks fan. For those 5 years, they won 3 titles, and now we're so it's coming. Sooner or later, you're gonna have to deal with it.
Yeah. I think Draymond Green's got to be shown the door. I'm sorry. I don't think he did anything other than causing kinds of issues for Golden State. So I don't think Draymond should be there anymore. Again, just my own opinion. What do I know? I don't get paid by the NBA, so you could take it with a grain of salt. But I just think I think at this point, he may need a change of scenery. Obviously, Andre Iguodala decided to retire. Why not? I mean, you're taking home 2 rings, something you didn't do in Philly. So he's walking out at the right time when he knows it save his knees, his back, and everything else. So God bless Andre Iguodala. Thanks for your services here in Philly. And obviously, who knows? He's probably maybe he'll retire as a Sixer, but more than likely, he'll probably going to retire as a Golden State Clipper. You take 2 championships over there. You had a hell of a run while you were there. That's probably the route it's going to end up going. So, with that all being said, I can't thank Tampa Joe's enough for being a sponsor here on the show. If you guys are in Tampa and want to go to a place that is exciting, like Ronald Koeman over with the Eagles, you guys can catch the Philly South Crew from September through January over at Tampa Joe's, 9316 Anderson Road in beautiful Tampa, Florida. A hop's going to jump over from the airport. Great food, serious fun. It's just an awesome atmosphere. And you don't have to wait until football season because they're open all year round. Great service, great staff. Mike Goodwin, an absolutely phenomenal human being, goes out of his way a lot of times to make sure he takes care of a lot of people. So I can't thank Mike Goodwin enough for hanging in there. Also, with Philly Sports Trips, Vince Rizzuto, man, you want to travel with the pros. You want to travel with the best. Make sure that you go and book your trip on phillysportstrips.com. And you can go through it through the website right now. The website's taking a little bit of revamp as I'm waiting for a particular app to finally get done. So you might see some things currently missing from the website. It will be back. No, the website's not going anywhere. It's a lot of approval stuff that's driving me absolutely crazy. I've been dealing with for 2 months at this point. Well, hopefully we'll get it fixed. But nonetheless, Philly Sports Trips, and obviously week 3, they're coming down here. So book your trip early because it is a ton of fun to have and be with Philly Sports Trips. And also the 97.5 crew, I'm pretty sure, will be down there. And John Kincaid, we hope that you recover, sir, quickly, efficiently, because we would love to have you back here. And as you told me on Twitter that you'll be back here, we want to have you back here because I want to have you on the mic out there at Tampa Joe's. So for John Kincaid and his family, we're praying for you, brother, the entire family, the squad, everyone for a speedy recovery. And we hope you nothing but the best here in the next coming weeks. We know it's going to be a tough battle, but we know we got it in you. So for everyone else, my co-host Ryan F. For my studio over in my studio. Holy moly, it's been a long. That's what happens when you do back-to-back shows. For my producer over at Studio B, my lovely fiance. We hope that you all enjoy your weekend. Stay tuned because the NBA playoffs are heating up along with the NHL. We'll be right back here come next week. And who knows, maybe we'll pop in a guest or two. And I know Ronnie Gent sent me a message. Brother, stay cool. I'm pretty sure it was a hot day. He just got home late from work. So hopefully Ronnie will join us here next week. And so you guys have an absolutely safe and wonderful weekend. And well, that's it. See you until next week.